are the New York Knicks. I'm back in the New York groove. Well, it's the Knicks. New York. We are the New York Knicks. New York. For this new season we're about to enter, the Knicks is taking no shorts, just like winter. New York, New York.
New York be about the Knicks, huh?
But the best thing about New York City is
K-N-I-C-K-S.
Everybody say go New York, go New York, go!
Go New York, go New York, go!
Hey everybody, welcome to the New York Knicks podcast, episode 647. Today's episode is brought to you by Autograph. Everyone should really download the Autograph app now. They are giving away a signed Miles McBride jersey for $2. All you have to do is join the app, and you get points by looking at Knicks-related stuff. Podcasts like ours were on there, images, tweets, articles, and the more you view, the more points you get, and you can use those points to submit for giveaways like this week.
I think this one's 250 points.
250 points, easy. I did it in like 30 minutes. So
Jay said just listening to our own podcast gets him 30 points. So just you listen to our podcast alone, you're already 30 points in.
Right, exactly. Just listen to a few episodes in a row, and you're good to go. And
they're paying you to be addicted to your phone, which I'm doing for free. So
it's all stuff you're looking for, looking at anyway. I mean, it aggregates all the Knicks material in one spot. You got Knicks Twitter, Instagram, blogs, and podcast all in one spot. View it, get points, and you can have a signed Miles McBride jersey for $2.
yeah, just like the Knicks got Miles McBride for, I think his contract over 4 years is $2. You can get his signed jersey for $2. Get the almost as good a deal as Leon Rose got.
Right, exactly. So a lot to talk about this week.
A few weeks ago, Jay, you were kind of depressed.
Yeah.
You were. It was right after Randall was announced out for the season, or out for the rest of the playoffs also, just done.
Yeah.
And you were like, this team is done. We don't know when we're getting OG back. We don't know what's going on. We are screwed. And it may have been like, it's been a really great season, but Jay was a little too negative. I was like, even Jay, you're kind of going over the top. Anyway, Jay has, how are you feeling now, Jay?
Feeling a little bit better. So, yeah, Mitch was also out. So, like, Mitch, Obi, and Randall were out. There was, I'm sure Philly fans can relate, there was a number of games that were decided by questionable calls at the end of the game. And it just, like, I was like, the guys aren't coming back. They're losing games. And it just felt like it was 5-on-8 every day. And then OG and Mitch came back, and the Knicks got some really good wins and jumped into the second seed on the last day and kept that momentum going for the playoffs. So I'm feeling much better about the team now.
Did you see in Tyrese Maxey, in one of the interviews, he said why he chose the number 0. Did you see that, Jay?
No, I actually did not. What did he say?
I think he originally wanted the number 3, but that wasn't available, so he got the number 0. And 0 is to remind him that there are 0 excuses. You don't make excuses. Which is really great because he's the only guy in the 76ers not making excuses.
He is. He has been. He has a winner's mentality. He's been a true, like, legit, like, saying all the right things, having the right attitude. Other players in Philly, not so much. But
other players, are you speaking of anyone in particular, Jay? Maybe a 7-foot guy?
Who looked like he was, like, crying at the end of the game.
I don't understand also. So something's wrong with his eye, apparently. Something wrong with his eye. He apparently is badly injured, can barely walk, yet he's scoring at will. He seems totally fine when he's on the court, but off the court, he has all these injuries.
Well, I wouldn't go that far. I mean, I would say his scoring is he's still scoring a lot of points, but he's playing almost no defense. I mean, he's not boxing out. He's not jumping for rebounds. Is he not boxing out iHeart? I hadn't noticed. There were the 2 key plays where if he just boxed out iHeart, he wouldn't have anything to complain about. Right, exactly. So I noticed they didn't complain about that. And also, he's shooting 24% from 3 for the series, so he doesn't have lift on his shots, but.
He looks better than I expect. Yeah, I know he's not 100%. He looks better than I expected, I guess. Based on going in, people are like, he's really hobbled. he's been pretty good during the series.
Especially when he went down right before halftime in Game 1. I thought that was the last we were going to see of him. See,
I mean, throwing the ball off the backboard and then going for like the dunk and injuring yourself. First of all, there were people online being like, Knicks fans were cheering that. Knicks fans weren't cheering that.
No.
They were, but it was kind of like ironic to see him get injured on that kind of play.
I mean,
you weren't cheering it, but you're like, if you're going to be an asshole, at least that's how, like getting injured on that play is kind of.
It was an exciting play, and the crowd like made a lot of noise while he was doing it.
But I don't think anyone cheered him getting injured.
They clapped when he got up and walked off.
Yeah. Whatever. In this series, everyone's going to see what they want to see.
Yeah.
The last minute of the game, we saw certain fouls, and the Philly fans saw different fouls. Like it's just like it's a picture, you stare into it, and you just see different things based on your frame of reference. Either way, the Knicks are up 2-0, which is goddamn amazing.
Yeah, it is. The miracle comeback in Game 2 was the Knicks 8 points in 9 seconds. We've been at the losing end of so many of those moments. It was just so amazing to have one where everything just fell into place the right way. It overcame like an impossible scenario. It was so many things had to go right for that comeback to happen.
That play, I mean, we watched this one separately. We watched Game 1 together. We didn't watch this one separately. But like when I guess when Maxey hit the 3, you assume the game was over, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I 100% positive the game was over.
And then Lowry gets the 2 free throws.
Mm-hmm.
He hits the first one. Once you hit the first one, you're like, it's 5 points, but like, and then he misses the second one, but you're like,
it's 5 points and there's like 40 seconds left.
Yeah, you're like, this is not happening. And everyone's seen this play a million times already. We don't have to like, just like our emotions. Like I was watching it being like, well, let's just see what Brunson can do. Like Brunson had his 2 worst games, maybe his 2 worst games as a Knick. And the Knicks are up 2-0, which is crazy.
I wouldn't even say maybe. I would say definitely. I'm
just wondering if there's a regular season game I'm just not thinking of, but like it just seemed like, especially for this level, I mean, it was almost to the point I was like, do I really want Brunson shooting here? But I'm like, yeah, we're living and dying with Brunson. We're not going to win without him playing well, so he can just keep shooting. He misses the first shot, and you're like, okay. Or he's like somehow on the floor, the ball comes loose, they get the ball back, and they get back to him. He shoots the shot, and the ball bounces up on the rim and comes back in. Do you remember a similar shot to that shot? The Brunson one that goes up like 5 feet and then like 2 feet and comes back down. Do you remember a similar shot?
Wasn't that Kawhi against Philly? Yeah.
Yes, Kawhi's last second shot to beat Philly in the playoffs.
In Game 7 of the semis, yeah.
Craziest shot. I mean, the Kawhi goes on to win the title with the Raptors, and they get there because they have this ball bounce in against the 76ers. That's the first thing I thought of when that shot bounced up and went in. But you're still like...
I didn't because the Knicks were still down. So I definitely wasn't thinking that.
I thought of that shot because it's such like an iconic shot. Because how the ball bounced. But right away you're doing the calculation like, okay, the Knicks are down by 2. You have to foul. They're gonna probably hit both free throws, and then like you're like, this is just gonna play out for like the next 5 minutes, but the game's over already.
Yeah.
And then the crazy. What was your reaction when you saw like the ball like leave Maxey's hand?
I was like, first I was like, oh shit, there's actually a glimmer of hope. And then I was like, there's no way that they're just not going to call a foul or something. Like something annoying is going to happen. They let them play, and then the Knicks end up with the ball. And
also, when Maxey falls down, like the ball comes out, Maxey falls down, you're like, everyone was like, where's the whistle? And Hart just picks up the ball. It's crazy.
Yeah. So, I was surprised that nothing was called. Not that I thought it was an egregious foul, because they called incidental contact on Dante, who clearly got hit multiple times. So I was like, okay, so you're not calling that. And then there was a push-off on Maxey right before that. They didn't call that. But we're used to, like, you're not calling that, but then you're going to call something on the other end. So I was expecting... And I'm not saying there wasn't contact with Hart and Brunson. I'm just saying it wasn't more egregious than the Dante call, which they overturned. So I was like, if you're going to overturn that, please don't call touch fouls on the other side.
Right, but you saw there's a lot of context. You're like, I assume the foul was being called. Like, you also couldn't tell exactly what was happening in the moment. But then Dante
The
gets
angle
the
was
ball.
really bad too. It was in the corner. It was small. I'm like, I just see bodies everywhere. I don't know who's hitting who.
So unexpected, also just out of nowhere. So and Dante gets the ball, shoots the three, and you're like, once that ball doesn't go in, you're like, well, that was our chance.
Yeah, yeah. It was such a roller coaster. Everybody was like, "It's happening. Oh, we're lost. Oh, it's happening. Oh, we lost." Like over and over.
And then Ihart gets the rebound, kicks to OG, kicks to Dante, hits the next one. You're like, I almost launched. I could have jumped through my ceiling with I was like, what just happened? How did hell we have the lead now?
Yeah. Even then, I was like, "There's a lot of time left. There's 13 seconds." Maxey goes driving. I'm like, we haven't been able to stop Maxey for 2 straight games, and then he gets blocked by Ihart, and then OG hits
And they
both
still
free
have a chance.
And then I'm still like, well, OG's probably just gonna either miss a shot, or miss one of the free throws, or I just kept thinking like something's gonna happen. I'm just waiting for it.
Right, and Embiid's three, which I don't know if you want him to be the guy to take in a three, but it went very close to going in. It was just crazy. That whole sequence was just completely batshit insane. And I cannot believe that was one of my best moment I've seen for the best. I mean, I guess the Knicks made the second round last year was awesome. Also, this was just an amazing and this is one of the greatest end of the games I've ever seen.
It could be a series changer. I mean, Philly looks kind of demoralized. They're at the Knicks are at the point now where
Embiid didn't look up in the post game interview. His head down the entire time, which was just crazy.
I don't know. I think something's wrong with his eye, and maybe the lights were bothering him or something. I don't think he was fighting.
No, I don't
back
think his head
tears.
I don't think his head was down. He was pretty down, but his head was down for something was wrong with his eye.
Yeah.
His eye can't be that off though, because his shot looks pretty good.
No,
so,
he's shooting 24% from three. He's hitting things within 5 feet, but he's not. He's
hitting some long jumpers. He hit some turnarounds. He's hitting shots.
I think that's more muscle memory. I think his vision's messed up.
I don't think you could hit shots with your vision being messed up. I don't think that works out.
No?
I also don't think I know he shot decently for three this year, but career-wise, he's not an amazing three-point shooter. I am kind of fine. I know the Knicks gave up a couple threes to him in both games. I'm fine with him shooting threes. Shoot from as far away as you want. Just take that shot. I'd much rather Embiid behind the arc than near the basket.
Absolutely. So, they pull off the impossible. Philly looks demoralized. Nick Nurse is throwing one of the worst temper tantrums I've ever seen by a coach. He's submitting a grievance to the office. This wasn't imagine that Houston game happened to Philly. Nick Nurse probably would have just retired.
I mean, he is just lost his goddamn. I'm like, just accept the reality. It's your grievance does not matter. So accept the reality. Whatever you think, how screwed you got, make the complaints. He's probably doing this. My theory is this is all show because he wants the refs to be on his side next game.
Absolutely.
So he makes a big enough deal about it.
Mm-hmm.
The grievance doesn't matter, but it could swing things for game 3 when the refs are like, well, we got to call the game for Philly now just to even it up and it looks better for ratings.
Luis Perez said on Twitter about that officials love when you complain about them and make them look incompetent. And so it could have the opposite effect, really.
I have to say for Philly, so Embiid, I thought his touch, I didn't realize he was shooting so poorly from three. He made a bunch of threes. He made at least 2 in the first game, and I think at least one in the second game. But I thought I didn't realize, not that I didn't realize, but I was impressed with how good his touch is, just on his shot.
Yeah. I mean, he's an amazing player. It's just he's really hobbled, and I would say I feel bad, but Randall's out, and we saw what the Knicks look like with a fully healthy roster, and I think the Knicks would be winning these games significantly if everybody was healthy.
So I'm just looking at this. I didn't really look at his 3-point shooting. So he was 2 for 9 in one game and 2 for 8 in the other game from 3. Yeah. Maybe the fact is Joel Embiid shouldn't be taking that many threes. That's what it really comes down to.
Well, I think the problem is that the Knicks have good defensive centers, and his knee is messed up, so he's not able to post up as well. So he's settling for 3-pointers. I mean,
I don't know when he's near the basket, he seems to be. I get what you're saying, and I think you're right to a certain extent. But he also seems like the Knicks can't stop him around the basket.
It's
true.
He
gets the ball, he seems to score.
It's true, but for him to make one of those post ups, he's using his knees a lot more.
Yeah, I just think he's shooting too many threes. I think it's just like a mistake on his end also. Like, hey, dude, like,
Yeah.
you want to shoot a couple free threes. The Knicks may be giving you this shot because they don't think you're necessarily making the shot.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think he's missing the threes because he doesn't have the lift with the knees, but I also think it's very painful for him to do the post up, so he's not doing it constantly.
I mean, fair point. The other guy I want to mention also is just going back to Maxey. I've been unbelievably impressed with Maxey in this series. He is just like you don't watch these guys as much, or maybe intently when you watch them in the regular season. I'm just like, this is the biggest stage that he gets basically in the playoffs. Maxey looks awesome.
Absolutely. I mean, he's been incredible. The Knicks have no answer for him. Fortunately, Tobias Harris has been pretty garbage.
Not awesome. Nice.
Oubre's taken a step back. Just some of their guys just nobody else is really stepping up. Like Batum went nuts in the play-in game, and he hasn't really done anything against the Knicks. He's doing a good job on Brunson. The Philly's length, I think, Philly is putting like 6'6", 6'7" guys on Brunson the entire game, which they're saying Melton might be back for next game, and he's good defensively, but he's smaller. I'm wondering if that will unlock Brunson. Even though he's a good defender, Brunson seems to chew up guys who are closer to his size.
Yeah, but guys, other teams have all season have put, not every game, but teams have put bigger guys on Brunson. He seems to figure them out. I'm surprised he hasn't been able to figure out Philly yet.
Yeah, I mean, we could get into the guys who draped over him and they could have called a million fouls, but I don't want to stoop to Philly fan level. But it's true. There's been a lot of contact on Brunson.
They are allowed to put their hands on him like throughout the whole game, and that really has thrown him off.
Mm-hmm.
I guess basically that the 25 seconds or whatever, the 30 seconds of crazy play at the end of the game. Well, like, Philly, you really can't complain about that if the refs are allowing you to basically put your hands on the players throughout the game. There was it was such egregious amount of contact, how much Philly has gotten to put on the Knicks. There was the challenge play where Lowry was hugging OG. The Knicks challenged the foul call, or the foul call was challenged by Philly, and Lowry could not understand hugging OG was a foul.
Right.
Like that
right.
that part, he had done it, and then afterwards he was like, how could you call that? You cannot hug the player you're guarding.
Yeah. Well, Tibbs, when asked about the final 2-minute report, they did come out with a final 2-minute report. They said that the push-off on Maxey was incidental on Hart, so that wasn't a foul. And they said both Hart and Brunson did foul Maxey, and that Nurse called for a timeout, and they didn't call it. So
I have to say about that is, first off, Nurse called for a timeout. He did it in such a way that his team didn't even know he called for a timeout. So if your team doesn't know you called for a timeout, then you didn't call for a timeout. Especially with the guarding fans screaming, you got to be a little more demonstrative. Yeah, Brunson, like a Hart, they grabbed his jersey, totally Maxey. There was a slight foul on him. But how do you call incidental contact Maxey blatantly pushing Hart?
There's the third time the term incidental contact has been used, and all three times it was used to screw the Knicks. Remember when RJ was going up for a layup at the end of the game, and I think it was last season, and they hit him in the head.
Who's RJ? I don't know who that is.
Ghost of Christmas Past. He got hit in the head, and they said it was incidental contact. Like, incidental contact just seems like code word for like we don't feel like calling that.
Yeah, it's exactly. We just don't feel. Even the 2-minute report, you're not gonna like. In the 2-minute report, you could just be like, this is inconsequential. The 2-minute report does not matter. You could say a guy blatantly shoving. If you go back to the replay, like, I mean, whatever you want. I don't know how much of it would have affected the play, but he blatantly shoved Hart, like with two hands to get him out of the way.
So when Tibbs was asked about that, he said he's more concerned with the first 46-minute report. It's true. I mean, if you the last 2-minute thing, it's like, I don't really like. Yeah, it affects the game, but like if you're calling crap one way for 46 minutes and then you call it the other way for 2, like you still affected the game in favor of the other way. Like, or just stop making bad calls all game. I don't know.
the 2 minute report is kind of stupid because they come out, it doesn't really matter. I guess
Right.
it's only for their, like, if anything, you should be showing the refs all the mistakes they made, not those 2 minutes of mistakes.
Yeah.
Why are you releasing it to the public? What's the point of this 2 minute report?
All it
Because
does is
doesn't
get
have-
people angry. They say it's for transparency, but all it does is rile up one fan base or the other, or both in this case.
Yeah, this was just a dumb thing to release, and it doesn't. Whatever. So the Knicks. So the Knicks basically had the two worst games from Brunson, are up 2-0.
Mm-hmm.
Could they? You could argue one. You could argue, hey, the Knicks could not be in a better position because Brunson's playing not that well, and the Knicks are winning games. So like, Brunson's going to come around very soon, and Philly is screwed. Or you could take the argument, and I guess there was someone in WFAN made this argument today that Brunson's not playing well. Philly has figured him out. The Knicks have needed just got like unexpected things to happen that are not going to keep happening throughout the series. So he predicted that the Knicks are going to lose the series.
That the Knicks are going to lose 4 out of the next 5 games.
Yes. The basic theory was like game 1, you had Deuce McBride playing out of his mind. You had Mitch was awesome, which I guess could be expected, but you had things going, and Josh Hart was awesome. You had things going the right way, but it wasn't like, I mean, Deuce hitting all those threes was like not something you're going to count on.
It's something that's been happening for the last few months. It's not like he came out of nowhere. Like,
it's hard to win without your star player playing well. And if Brunson's not going to play well the rest of the series, can the Knicks really win this, even if they're up 2-0? Is the basic argument.
the answer is yes.
I mean, I agree with you, but let's play. I'll take the other side of this. Brunson, I don't know if Brunson can. I don't even want to take the side of this. I hate Philly. But how can I argue for it?
That was the shortest role play ever on this show.
I can't even do it. Fuck Philly. By the way, the tickets are so much cheaper in Philly.
Yeah.
I mean, they're still expensive, but such a better deal than going to Madison Square Garden. Except for the fact that Madison Square Garden is just a better place to watch a game.
True.
Though I think half of the crowd in Philly will be Knicks fans.
I think there's going to be more Knicks fans there than they're expecting. I definitely feel that way.
I think there's going to be a huge contingent of Knicks fans buying tickets and going to the game. It's not that far from New York. It's going to be crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. So what are you expecting for the rest of the series now? The next 2 are in Philly. Got a couple days rest before the next game.
I think you have a week off. I think the Knicks have like a week off if they sweep the series.
Mitch is questionable for game 3.
Mitch is questionable for game 3?
Yes. So now is Mitch actually questionable, or are they just doing what Philly's doing with Embiid?
I mean, it was and Maxey. They were like, Maxey's really sick. He's sick enough to score the first 9 points of the game.
Well, apparently Maxey was actually throwing up.
Yeah.
So
but like still, like he was, and I know it just was crazy how they're like, he's really sick. He might not play. And then immediately just like hits 3 threes.
Yeah. So I think that Mitch, they're probably just doing what Philly's doing and just calling people questionable to mess with their heads. Because I don't think Embiid wants anything to do with Mitch.
Maybe, or maybe he's questionable for the game. I don't know. I mean, I think he's going to play.
I think,
I'd be surprised.
I think Embiid is more comfortable against iHeart, but I think Mitch is like giving him nightmares.
Well, I think game 1 you're correct, but game 2 iHeart played awesome.
He did. Actually, the minutes were completely reversed. Game 1, it was 30 minutes Mitch, 18 minutes iHeart, and it was 18 minutes iHeart, 30 minutes. It was flipped. Anyway.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice that you have 2 like world-class defensive centers out there. At all times, you could have, even one gets in foul. Like iHeart got in foul trouble early in both games, but you have Mitch that like it's having 48 minutes of rim protection is pretty amazing.
Especially guys that hustle that much on the glass too, which apparently Philly just hasn't learned like junior high boxing out, because at the end of the game when iHeart got that rebound, there was 4 Sixers watching the ball. Like he just ran through the whole team to grab the rebound.
I mean, in game 1 though, game 1's rebounding totals was absurdly different. I think it was okay. The Philly had 33 rebounds. The Knicks had 55 rebounds. And you're like, there's no way you could lose the game if you're out rebounding your opponent by 20 rebounds. That's crazy.
Yeah.
But the second game, it was like pretty even for rebounds, except for the 2 ones that actually mattered.
Right. Also,
I think actually the Knicks were up 46 to 44 in rebounds, with those two being the only difference.
Also, I know a lot of Philly fans think that the game was completely biased in the Knicks' favor. The Knicks did take more free throws than Philly in Game 2, 23 to 22. So hugely.
Well, there you go.
Biased,
I mean, there you go. That's a travesty of justice.
Yeah.
Maybe also Philly wins the game if they don't Embiid doesn't miss 4 free throws.
I mean, Lowry missed. They didn't box out. Ihart got 2 huge rebounds. They let Dante take a wide open 3, and I guess they're not aware that Dante's pretty good at 3-point shots. I mean, there was a million opportunities.
It was interesting how everything worked. First game, McBride took Dante's minutes. I didn't think Dante played so poorly in Game 1, but McBride was playing so well.
Yeah.
And in Game 2, you thought McBride might be the guy that closed the game out. And then he had 2 dumb fouls in a row, and Dante comes in and is the hero.
Well, this is the benefit of having depth.
Yeah.
There's no Paul Reeds of the universe coming in on the Knicks bench.
I mean, the Knicks have 8 very, very solid players. And Bogdanovich hasn't been amazing, but hasn't been bad either. He's 2
hit
very
shots.
important threes in Game 2 that were crucial, basically, to keeping the Knicks in the game.
Absolutely. And we said before the series that Bogdanovich is going to have to step up in Mitchell's absence, and he has. He's hit shots when he needed to, and he's doing what the Knicks need him to do. It's been really, really good.
Okay, so points that are concerning for going forward.
Mm-hmm.
So first, let's just go back to Brunson. Do you think Brunson figures it out and has a normal Brunson game?
Absolutely, yeah. I just find it hard to believe that all season he's been playing at an all NBA level, and then all of a sudden Philly's just so amazing that he can't figure anything out. I think he's just having a. Well, the thing is, Philly's entire strategy is shut Brunson down and let the other guys beat them, and the other guys are beating them.
You're this strategy's going really well.
I mean, that's the thing with this whole super team strategy where you get a big 3 and then you just have cap filler for the rest of the roster. I think the league is too deep for that strategy to work anymore. Any team that's tried to do that right now is getting stomped in the playoffs. And the Knicks didn't go that route.
The Suns look really good.
I mean, the Suns, the Bucks, you have one guy go down or one guy not play well, your entire team is screwed. The Knicks lost all NBA All-Star player, but they filled the roster with actual legit players, and they're still winning. They didn't go the big 3 route, and I'm glad they didn't.
Well, I don't know if the Bucks were a good example because the series is 1-1, and without Giannis, they beat the crap out of Indiana in Game 1.
Well, I mean, Indiana's not exactly world beaters,
right? But they're not down to 0-2 either. So,
well, I mean, they lost one game at home. They lost home court advantage almost immediately.
Right, but they don't have Giannis. I mean, whatever.
Yeah, that's what I mean. If you do a big 3, your margin of error is so small. If the Knicks traded for Donovan Mitchell and they didn't have Dante, McBride, and Bogdanovich, and then Randall goes down anyway, they're down 0-2.
I mean, you can also just say this series Philly has 2. I mean, Oubre's a decent player actually, and they have some other decent players. But if Embiid or Maxey don't play, the team is completely screwed. They could not afford to lose one of those 2 guys. In the first game, the part of the second quarter when Embiid was off the floor, they were it looked like the game was going to be a blowout for a little bit till Embiid came back.
Yeah. The non-Embiid minutes are really, really bad. I mean, they were 16 and 27 without Embiid this season. They're a lottery team.
And I think it's the other way. If they lost Maxey, they'd be just as screwed.
Maybe even worse.
Are a deep roster.
With Embiid hobbled, if Maxey missed any time,
Well, it was a crazy stat. Also, they said when the Knicks won the first game, they were the second team ever to win a playoff game with no active player being drafted in the top 15, being a top 15 draft pick. I mean, Randall's not active because he's injured. He was I think he was picked 8. But no one else on the roster has been picked.
Right, no lottery picks.
Yeah, I mean the closest I think Devo was like 17th, and that's the highest.
Yeah. Yeah, it's impressive.
Bunch of second round picks here. It's like Josh Hart was 30th. Like it's crazy what the Knicks have done with a roster that like is later in the draft.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, we've been against blowing up the team and trading for that one star, and I'm glad Leon Rose did not panic and do that, because I think things would be very different right now.
Okay, so Brunson, concerning. We think he's going to figure it out. He's too good of a shooter. He's getting enough shots that like the shots he usually hits are not going to, it's not even, Philly's doing a great job on defense, but also there are shots that he hits that he normally goes in. They're not going in. They're forcing him to his right, but even when he goes to the right, he figures this out. We think he's going to figure it out.
Yeah.
Other concerning things. I've noticed that Philly seems to have worked out. Like there were so many times where Josh Hart was stripped with the ball going to the basket. Devo too. They seem to have figured out, like, to a certain extent, like Hart driving like full court to the basket, or just like they seem to be good at stripping the ball when the guys are going to the hoop.
Yeah, they're a good defensive team. They're long. They get their hands in there. So I mean that's not great that they're good at that. I don't expect every team to be as good at that as Philly, but they have a lot of long bodies, and they're just they're scrappy like that.
Can Josh Hart play 48 minutes a game? He seems totally fine last game playing 48 minutes. You think he's gonna? Is that a trend?
I don't think that's necessarily a trend, but I think he's gonna play 40. Like he's gonna play a ton of minutes.
OG, he has not been that big. His defense has been good. He's not had an amazing series so far and hasn't really contributed that much on offense. Hit a couple big shots, but like he hasn't been that great on offense.
Well,
any concern there?
That is also like the silver lining. Brunson and OG have not those two best players, and they haven't played very well. So that's almost a positive for the Knicks, because their ceiling is not. They haven't hit their ceiling. It's not like they're going supernova and they're losing or barely winning. Like this team has a ceiling is a lot higher than they're playing right now.
It's not that OG's been bad. He's just been like average OG. You've not seen the 17 game, like the January OG. He's not been there yet.
Right. Or just like completely locking down somebody to the point where you're like, holy crap. Like they're like avoiding his half of the court, like.
Right. And I think Maxi's a tough matchup for him because of his speed.
Yeah. And Embiid obviously because of his size. It's just not. And then like, then it's like, oh great, you're shutting down Oubre or Tobias. Like, big whoop.
I have a question. Is there anyone in this roster you hate more than Kyle Lowry?
It's close between him and Embiid, just because I don't like the foul baiting, and the only reason it's not clear Embiid because he's gutting out an injury, and I do appreciate like the him playing. He's not like shutting it down. But the foul baiting pisses me off. But Lowry, I think, is just dirty. So I'll go with Lowry.
He just annoys the shit out of me. I don't know why every year in the playoffs we have to play Kyle Lowry. I
know. It doesn't matter what team.
Doesn't matter what team. We're going to play him every year. I will be very happy when they beat Kyle Lowry. I cannot believe how big of a role Lowry also has at age 38 on this team.
What is he, the fourth oldest player in the NBA?
Yeah, like you just
crazy.
would not want Kyle. I mean, I guess LeBron might be the oldest, and obviously you're fine LeBron playing these minutes, but Lowry at this stage in the career, Philly should have a roster good enough that Lowry doesn't play.
The crazy thing is Lowry looks pretty bad for long stretches, but when he plays the Knicks, it's just like he looks like Lowry of 10 years ago. Every time he plays the Knicks, it's like he gets up for them.
He's like, I remember when you guys would not trade your 2016 first round draft pick for him, I'm going to always screw you guys.
Yeah. Even last year, first round he looked like he was washed up. Second round he kicks the Knicks ass, and then conference finals he goes back to sucking. It's like, what the hell was that about?
If anyone remembers, many years ago, the Knicks almost traded for Kyle Lowry, and the trade was vetoed on the Knicks end because they did not want to include the 2016 first round pick because they were trading away so many firsts that they like. This was the trade where they were like, we're not doing this anymore.
And he just hit 30 years old, and you're like, how much longer is he going to be playing? And
For a while, apparently.
yeah.
Anything else that's been concerning from the series? I think Devo obviously had that huge shot.
Yeah.
Josh Hart, Hart's offense has really come around. Even though, like early in the game, especially the last game, he was not he was not shooting. At some point, he started shooting, and he really helped the Knicks out a lot.
My main
on
concerns are not because of Philly. I'm just still a little wary of iHeart's Achilles, OG's elbow, and Mitch's ankle. And
Those things haven't been mentioned at all on the broadcast. At least I'm watching the MSG broadcast, and I haven't seen any mention of it. Or I haven't read anything about any.
well,
I haven't read anything about.
do we ever until it's just like, oh, OG's out for 2 months now? Like you never hear
Yeah.
it. You never hear anything about it until it's just like they're just not there. So I'm a little wary about that.
Okay, let's go with quick questions.
That's why I'm hoping this is a quick series and they get a week off while Milwaukee and Indiana beat each other up.
Yeah, is Embiid? I'm sorry, is Giannis back soon?
There's no word, but the injury did not look good. I mean, if it's a non-contact injury and you just crumple, like that's never a good sign. So
I mean, I'm assuming Milwaukee's they're also let's just see if we can beat Indiana without him. At least let's just see if we go down 2-1 maybe before we try to force him back.
yeah.
Anthony writes, have Joel's pussy healed? Daniel writes, this is on Facebook. We have started out slow each game. The slow starts, are the slow starts concerning? Both games were really slow starts.
I mean, down double digits almost immediately.
Yeah.
It's not
fighting
fun.
uphill to start. It's just both the Brunson being off and the slow starts are two of the big things I'm just really surprised about.
Yeah.
Daniel, okay, we start out slow each game. What do we have to do to get better starts besides making shots? LOL.
I mean, was it the first game or the second game where Philly started off hitting 7 out of 8 shots or something? I mean, they just weren't missing for a while, and I
think
mean,
both games they seem not to be missing.
Yeah.
The second game was Maxey went crazy to start the game.
Yeah, I mean, they're probably not going to be shooting 80-90% for the first quarter every game. So I mean, I'm expecting a regression to the mean.
I feel like you want Brunson to get going, normally you want the point guard to get other guys going early, but maybe you want Brunson to get going early, or maybe Brunson should try to set some guys up and get them scoring to take a little pressure off himself to start the game.
Yeah, I'm just more concerned about Philly scoring every time they get down the court. I mean, I'm not as worried about the Knicks as I am about Philly just hitting every shot.
Maxey also chased some crazy threes and just some crazy shots. He's really fast, and he seems to be Jay, but by the way, what did you think about Maxey being the most improved player in the NBA, going from a semi-all-star to an all-star?
I would have voted for Kobe White on Chicago. He basically came out of nowhere to be really good, which to me is what the most improved player is, not went from really good to really, really good. He did improve a lot. I feel like he wasn't the most improved.
I don't think the award is for guys who are borderline all-star to all-star. That doesn't seem. I agree with you. I think Kobe White made more sense. I know Dante didn't qualify because of being off by 2 games, but Dante made more sense. A guy that was a role player and became a solidified starter and was third in the NBA in threes. And Kobe White, just someone that became a guy that you were an afterthought to some guy who is now a big player in the league. That seems like who it should be. I mean, Randall got it. He went from being a guy where people were writing him off to being an all-star. That made more sense.
Yeah. I mean, Maxey's been amazing, but yeah, I just feel like most improved out of everybody. That's
seems like a weirder one. I mean, Maxey was awesome. I have no he's awesome. I am super impressed by him.
Yeah.
Just a weird award to give him.
Yeah.
Christian writes, what is Philly doing to defend Brunson so well, and how can he break out of it?
I mean, a lot of it, I think, is just they are grabbing him a lot and banging into him, and it has not been called. The way the NBA goes, it could be called completely differently in Game 3. You never know. So If not, then I think maybe you got to get some switches a little quicker, get a weaker defender on them. Their strategy seems to be to like keep really long guys like Batum on him. See if he could switch to like Tobias Harris or I don't know. Like Oubre's a good defender too. Like
maybe he's putting too much pressure on himself. Maybe like he's just missing shot. Like he's for all the great defense on him. A couple things haven't worked. Like when he tries to put guys like in when he tries to like, kind of slow the guy in back of him.
Yeah.
And the Philly's been blocking a shot over his head. Like certain things he's done. Certain parts of his moves just haven't been working. And when he goes to like multiple pivots, Philly seems to be there with the pivots. But he's had enough open shots where like those shots should still they normally go in.
With Embiid hobbled, I'd be just trying to go down low with Mitch or Ihart like constantly.
Well, they were saying that one thing that hurts the Knicks guarding Philly is because Embiid can play a little bit away from the basket, and you have to guard him away from the basket because he's such a good shooter. That like the net is more opened up just because Embiid's not a back to the basket kind of player. Knicks got to take advantage of that and going to the hoop.
Yeah, on offense, just attack him every play. I forget who was saying that, but they were saying like give up a few points at the beginning because you might not hit them attacking Embiid, but it'll be worth it if you get a couple fouls on him. Like, don't go in expecting to like score every time. Go in expecting to like attack him, tire him out, get some fouls.
I mean, they've done the first part, give up a bunch of points to start the game. They've been good at that. They got that part down.
Yeah.
Oscar writes, to your knowledge, has Embiid and Nurse stopped crying since Monday night?
No, they have not.
On Twitter or X, New York Mentality 1985 writes, how much fun has it been while following this 23-24 Knicks team since dating back to the offseason and throughout all of 23 and 24? That's my question. How much fun has this team been?
I have been watching the Knicks regularly since '92, and this is my all-time favorite Knicks team.
More than the 90s teams.
Yes. There was always a guy or two I didn't really like on the 90s teams. I like every single player on this roster. They're just...
Would you say also, I feel this way, I'm like always been a huge fan, but I think my fandom went up to another level when we started doing the podcast. I feel like I'm watching every game where I didn't watch every game before.
I watched every game in high school, and then when I went to college, I kind of took a step back and never really got as much into it until the podcast. But I would say from like 93 through like 96, I watched like every game.
I think also because I think also if you add in the fact that you had the 90s, but you didn't really I don't remember the 80s that well. Just younger and didn't really follow the team in the 80s. So like you had the 90s, but the Knicks were kind of good the whole 90s. So you you didn't know the team could suck for so long.
Yeah.
And then 2000s, the Knicks have been trash for the last 20 years, basically, with a minor period where they won 54 games with Melo and like things were a little bit better, but quickly fell back off and just got really bad again. The last two seasons, like to really appreciate the last two seasons, like there's been since Tibbs got here, everything's been so much better.
Not only that, they don't have any remember when we first started the podcast, there was always a guy making stupid amounts of money who like either didn't play or couldn't stay healthy. Like there's no bad contracts on this team.
No, Leon's really turned this around. And I mean, the first year they went to the playoffs, overperformed, but like you were like, this is really fun. I can't believe how well they're playing. But it didn't seem like you didn't know where they were going. The second year, everything kind of fell off and you're like, what's going on? But the last 2 years have been, I mean, I guess really since Brunson got here, you're like, this keeps getting better, basically.
Yeah, no matter what happens this season, I want them to bring the entire team back. I don't think you need any moves. Just imagine this team and you add Randall and 2 draft picks. Like,
yeah.
I mean, just pay iHeart, pay OG, bring everybody back, and see what happens.
Well, one thing that Brunson is missing here, and that I think is hurting him, is that speaking of Randall, there's no other real force of gravity on the Knicks offense.
Yeah.
where Randall really can get Brunson open shots from three and just like he draws double teams, he can kick it out to Brunson. No one can really do that besides him. And so the double teams just come for Brunson.
Yeah.
He tries to set other guys up, but like as much as this team is awesome, I think if they had Randall, they'd be I mean, I think they're gonna win the series anyway, but I think it'd be going. It can't go better than 2-0, but
I mean, I think it would be like 2 blowouts. I honestly believe that. Yeah, that's the thing. Like, people are paying attention to Dante and they're respecting OG's shot, but they're not getting doubled. Randall would be getting doubled, or if you don't double, then Brunson's unleashed. Like, it's like pick your poison at that point.
right, it's hard to beat both those guys. And I know Randall's had his issues in the playoffs, but I really think at some point in the playoffs he's going to look awesome because he looks awesome most games. I think it'd be really tough, especially because he adds a lot of size to the Knicks. Also, he'd be really tough on Philly.
I really think that January was a sneak peek as to what the Knicks would look like, and I don't see why it wouldn't look like that for an extended run.
So apparently the Knicks can only, I think there's the max they can offer iHeart because of I guess the rules of the cap. They can offer him maybe like 17 million or 18 million.
Mm-hmm.
To me, that doesn't, because one of the things is people are like, well, can you really bring back iHeart? He's been awesome. I feel like around 17, $18 million seems kind of like the contract iHeart would get anyway.
Yeah.
And I think he's going to get a lot more. He has an injury issue. This is his first year as a starter. He's not a guy, he's awesome, but I don't think teams look at him as a guy that like will put them over the top either.
He said he wants to stay. This team seems so close. I feel like this is the type of team where if it's within reason, they would even take a little less just to keep this going. Like, do you think iHeart's going to go to Charlotte for 18 if he could get like 15 for the Knicks? Like,
right. Yeah. If he gets 16, 17 from the Knicks, or like say it's 16 from the Knicks or on like 4-year deal versus 20 from Charlotte. Do you want to compete for the title, or do you want to compete for like a lottery pick?
Exactly.
It doesn't register. First of all, I think big men don't. It's hard to not that many big men get 20 million a year who aren't like a force on offense. But yeah, you're right. I think the team is so close. It's also I feel like James Dolan should be like, hey, listen, iHeart, we can only pay you $16 million, but you know what? There's a bag of $10 million on the table over there. I'm going to walk out of the room. When I walk back in the room, if it's gone, I don't know what happened to it.
Right. Why not, right?
They also should do that for McBride. They should find a way to get some more money than McBride. Be like, hey, McBride, by the way, someone broke into your house and just threw gold bars into your house. Anyway, we'll figure out those vandals, but keep the gold bars.
A reverse break-in.
A reverse break-in. This season's been so much fun. Worldwide Knicks writes, would you try to guard Embiid up close and make him move, or let him be a spot-up shooter? My worry is game 3, we try to guard him up too close to physical, and the ref will try and make up for game 2.
Yeah, I mean that is. Even if it's not the refs, like he gets those calls. He just gets those calls. It doesn't really matter who the refs are. It's. I would say try and push him back. Like, make it as physical as you can without getting into foul trouble. Try and make him a spot-up shooter. He's not hitting the shots right now within reason. You just got to be careful. He knows some tricks to get foul calls. The refs give him the benefit of the whistle. But on the other hand, you can't let him bully you and score every time he gets down onto the net.
I agree, but if you leave him 15 feet from the basket and you just let him shoot, I know he has not been hitting his threes, but I think 15 feet from the basket, 10 to 15 feet from the basket, he's just going to make the shot every time.
Well, I'm not saying leave him open 10 to 15 feet. Like,
well, Clyde has been saying when he gets the ball out there, like, make him put the ball on the floor.
Mm-hmm.
And that I think that's the key, just how physical he can be, getting him to put the football on the floor.
Yeah.
But yeah, would you throw out I guess Is there anything else you would do basically besides having, like, would you double him more?
It's tough because that might leave Maxi open. You know, I would, where they they cheat, not a full double, but you cheat a little bit.
Yeah.
I would do a lot of that. Tiana says my biggest game 3 concern is the bogus makeup calls from the refs after that stupid last 2-minute report. It should be interesting to see who the refs assigned are, because the Knicks already went through Scott Foster and Goebel. The only villain really left is Ed Malloy. So we'll probably see him game 3.
My understanding is the refs for game 3 are Cam Payne, Mo Bamba, and Kyle Lowry. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah. We're just going to let the players call their own fouls this time.
NYC Philosophy writes, how does it feel for Dante and Josh to have seen Jalen evolve into an NBA superstar, and how he hasn't let it get to his head? You wouldn't be able to tell based on how massive his head is. Ha ha ha.
I mean, I feel like not only is the roster constructed well, they got a lot of guys with the same types of personalities where no matter what happens, they're not really like blaming other circumstances. You're not going to get a press conference where everyone's complaining about the refs. Like, even games where the refs screwed the Knicks, Brunson was like, I got to be better. Like, he does what Maxey does. It's like a winning mentality. They're not wearing stupid outfits to the game. They're like, it's all business, you know? They're just...
It's still crazy these guys were Villanova teammates. And, like, a championship Villanova. And, like, now they're playing together in the NBA, and they play so goddamn hard and play so damn well together.
Yeah, yeah.
So, a non-playoff thing, but I wanted to point out, did you hear about the survey that said they asked players who is the coach they'd least like to play for?
Yeah.
And did you hear who the winners are?
Yeah.
It was number 1 was Tom Thibodeau
by a landslide.
And sorry, what?
By a landslide.
By a landslide. Number 2 was Doc Rivers, but like not even close to Tibbs. And the players came out and like they were like, this is, I have to read you a couple quotes. DiVincenzo said, he goes, you don't know him. You don't know how the organization runs. You don't know how the practices run. You don't know anything. You see honestly on the sideline how he acts. To us, that's dedication. That's how much love and dedication he gives us every day. Like I said, that poll is bullshit and inaccurate.
Nice.
And what was the other one? I think iHeart called it bullshit also.
I know Josh Hart jumped in on that too. And he said something about the players being soft.
Bogdanovich said, if you're a player, you want to play as much as you can. So I don't get the other players who voted against Tibbs or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of soft players and there's a lot of divas in the league. There's a lot of guys who don't want to box out. Like Tibbs wouldn't put up. You wouldn't see 4 guys watching the ball at the end of the game on a Tibbs team. That just doesn't.
No, Bogdanovich went on to say he's straight up. Whoever's giving him great minutes is going to be on the court. McBride played great in game one, so he's the guy that finishes the game. So if you contribute, you're going to be on the court. That's what it is.
Tanner said The Athletic had an awesome article about how much the team loved Tibbs. And Jimmy says, Tibbs in the press today, the best answer. What about the 46-minute report?
Yeah, I feel like so. What was it? He coached in Minnesota. It did not work out. And Towns there was some quote from him, and I don't have the exact language, but basically he was just like he basically had said Tibbs cares too much, more or less. And you were like, he cares too much. This is your criticism of the coach, that he's too dedicated.
Right.
He wants everything. He wants this too much. You're like, I don't know if Minnesota kept. I mean, and also Tibbs in Minnesota had the GM and coaching duties, which probably wasn't a good mixture. But are good to have both duties. But I don't know, like everything you hear about Tibbs, like all the critiques, like him overplaying guys, or like he treats every game, like they say he treats every game of the regular season like the playoff game, and as a criticism. But then your team gets to the playoffs and they don't give up at any moment, basically, because they're doing this all season.
Well, I mean, just look at the difference. Philly threw in the towel with like a full 24 seconds left in game one.
Game one, you were like, why aren't they fouling? They just let the clock run down with a similar score.
It was weird. And then Tibbs' team, situations reversed. They fought for it. They hustled. They got all the hustle plays and ended up winning the game. Yeah, I mean, if you flipped coaches and culture, like the series is completely different.
I mean, and whatever you want to say about the guys that are no longer here, and nothing against them, but people would criticize the Knicks, but they're like, why Leon Rose keeps trying to get Tibbs guys? Like, why? Like, you want guys that are fit with the coach. You want it to work well. And Tibbs wants guys who play their heart out, give 100% hustle, play defense. They finally got a roster that fits around what Tibbs wants. It seems to be going pretty well.
Well, also, if you get a team of like-minded people, they're all going to be on the same page. Like, you know, somebody like Josh Hart, if he's hustling for every single rebound, he's going to be pissed at a teammate who's ball watching and not crashing the glass. Like, then you're going to have trouble in the locker room too. So they got guys who are all on the same page. They're all in on this culture. This
right.
hustle.
And nothing is like Bogdanovich. I don't know how. I didn't watch him in Detroit this year. I know he's putting up points and all that, but I don't think he was playing quite as hard and as intense as he's trying to do now. Because he gets here, he sees everyone playing their heart out, and is like, "Well, I kind of follow that example because you can't. I'm not gonna you can't fit in. You can't play here if you're not doing that."
Yeah.
Which is like awesome. I just think they built an awesome I mean, Leon, fine, you're playing 40 chess. We couldn't figure out your plan, but it's going goddamn well.
It is.
Any other questions? Yeah, anyway, I just thought that survey was just like, it's amazing how many guys don't want to play for the coach that has had so much success.
Right. And, you know, those are the guys who are just whining all the time and slacking and not winning as many games.
Yeah, like Leon should be like, can I find out what players vote against Tibbs so we make sure we don't get those guys? Because those guys just don't have the winning mentality.
Exactly.
Do you want to briefly touch on the other series?
Yeah.
Okay. So Celtics versus the Heat. 2-0 Celtic. Oh, is it? No, tonight's game 2. But it will be 2-0 Celtics.
By the time you listen to this, it'll be 2-0 Celtics.
Yeah, I don't see that being much of a series. Bucks Pacers. We talked about that briefly before. What do you think of that series?
I think that's, if you take out one of the best players in the league for the Bucks, this is a pretty even series. So I expect this one to go long.
Halliburton not healthy, or what's the deal with him? He's just not looking like Halliburton.
He hasn't scored over 10 points in the series yet.
Yeah, it's a little weird. I think generally he's just not been as good since he got back from injury.
Maybe everybody should have pumped the brakes a little on dubbing him the next best point guard in the league.
Well, he made the Olympic team over Brunson because
good.
Because I don't know, the hype.
Good. Let everybody get tired all summer, and Brunson just stays in shape, and we'll see how that goes. So yeah, I think that's a long series. I hope it is. I hope it goes 7.
Go 7. Magic, Cavs. Cavs are not looking so poor. Cavs are having a better showing in the first round this year.
Yeah, but it is the Magic. I mean, people are really scared of the Magic. I don't know why. Like, neither of these teams is scoring over 100 points a game.
So Donovan Mitchell looks awesome.
Yeah.
He looks awesome. When you watch him, you're like, I mean, like, not that Knicks should go after him, but like, you kind of get why you would think about it. But the Magic look pretty ordinary. I mean, Banchero's good, and they're like good players. They just don't like. You're watching the Magic, you're like, I mean, it's very good for where they are like, developmentally, but they seem pretty far from being like really good.
I mean, it's not like the Cavs are like they're scoring high 90s each game too. It's not like there's a reason national TV isn't even showing these games.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm not like super impressed with that series.
This is just food for the Celtics in the second round.
Yeah. Well, I hope someone can give. I hope the Cavs can fight the Celtics to a 7 games. We need that.
Yeah.
For when we get there. Okay. The other side of the bracket. So I guess Lakers Nuggets. the Lakers are really good at making you think they're going to win the game.
All LeBron is doing is talking about the reffing when they blew a 20-point lead and he had a wide open 3-point shot at the end. But it's the ref's fault, apparently.
The whole thing I've always found annoying about LeBron's amazing and all that, but it's so annoying that he always like is complaining about stuff. You're like, I don't remember Jordan complaining about this stuff. If you're gonna be the 1 and 2 with Jordan, could you not complain so much and be like a bitch so much?
Yeah, I mean, Detroit kicked Jordan's ass, and he went to the gym and lifted weights all summer to bulk up. Like,
I mean, this is not to. I mean, LeBron, like you can argue either one is the greatest player, whatever. And actually, I was talking to someone about it yesterday. And they were talking about, like, I guess Jordan played for the Wizards. I forgot it was around the same age Jordan played for the Wizards.
Yeah.
And they were like, who's a better player? I'm like, you could argue 27-year-old Jordan versus 27-year-old LeBron. 39-year-old LeBron is better than 39-year-old Jordan. It's not even close at this stage in their career. Do you disagree, Jay?
Jordan was still averaging well above 20. He was averaging like 25 points at 39 years old, so it's not as far away as
25 points for the
I think the first
Wizards?
year before he got hurt in his second year, I'm pretty sure he did.
Okay, whatever. I'm going to hand it to LeBron at age 39. The 39-year-old season.
I don't care. This is like the worst argument in sports. Like every day, somebody's like, hey, Jordan did this and LeBron did that. It was 23 points a game.
Okay, I mean, he obviously he's still a very good player. I'm sure. First of all, I'm sure you could take Jordan right now and have him be a solid role player in your team.
Yeah, I mean, whatever. It's he's one of the best players of all time, but he's just so unlikable with all the whining. It's like, give it a rest. Anyway, the Nuggets are going to sweep them. They've won 10 in a row against the Lakers. They're going to make it 12 in a row, and that'll be it.
I still don't think they're going to sweep. I still think the Lakers take 1 or 2 games.
They got swept last year, and I don't see anything changing.
I mean, you're making. The Nuggets have made a pretty good argument for that because they come back in both games. The second game, I was like, oh, I guess the Lakers are evening this up, and no. Pelicans Thunder. Game 2 is game 2 hasn't out. Game 2 is tonight.
Yes, that was much
that's-
closer than I thought it was going to be. That's a 2-point game.
The Pelicans have a lot of size. Thunder, their one weakness is they don't have enough size.
Yeah.
I still think the Thunder are going to go really far in the playoffs, but I think the Pelicans are a difficult matchup, and this might go 6 games.
Especially if Zion comes back, but who knows about that? I still got Thunder, yeah. I mean, I'm not changing any of my picks yet.
Clippers Mavericks. Game 1, kind of shocking, huh?
Yeah, no Kawhi. Clippers win. And then Kawhi's back and the Clippers lose. So that was interesting.
Yeah, Kawhi was not himself. He wasn't quite the level of Kawhi. He wasn't 100% Kawhi, but yeah, you would have assumed getting Kawhi back, you would have won the game.
Yeah. So I think that's going to be a close series.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a real fight. And what's the other series I'm missing?
Minnesota, Phoenix.
Oh, the maybe the funniest series of all.
I'm telling you, the Kardashian Jenner curse is real, and they still have Devin Booker, and it's not looking good for Phoenix at all.
No, I mean Minnesota looks really good. Jaden McDaniels having great series. Like the Minnesota might sweep. I really hope they sweep Phoenix. I was listening to Simmons earlier, who was talking about how the Phoenix might blow this up after getting swept.
How could they? Who's taking on Beal?
Beal
Durant,
is not tradable.
Yeah, they're going to trade Durant? Like, I
mean,
doubt they
Beal,
trade Booker.
Okay, so Beal, the case to trade Beal is maybe...
Well, you don't need to make the case to trade Beal. It's just like, who's going to take Beal?
The case that a team would take him is maybe the Heat would take him, wanting another scorer, and maybe they feel like he could fit in better there. I mean, the last year, obviously, they were trying to get Dame, so maybe they kind of... I mean, a lot of contracts you have to trade back to, like, take him, but maybe that's a possibility.
Okay.
I'm not sure who else would go for him.
I mean, Philly has a ton of space, but did they want to use that on Beal? Like, they're just getting off the Harris and Lowry contracts, and they're just going to immediately fill it up with Beal.
I mean, if you think Beal's a really good scorer, maybe you think that's like what we're missing is another really solid scorer. Maybe that would be a big addition. Like, I don't think it's out of question that Beal can get moved. And then the question really is Devin Booker or Durant. Booker's 28. Durant, it's like 35. Uh, who do you trade? I mean, I feel like you trade Durant.
Of course. I mean,
And
not only
Durant
that,
has a lot of value still.
Yeah, Durant also had the really bad injuries too. So, he's 35. He'll be 36 before the next season starts. It's obviously you would do that.
I mean, Simmons suggested like trading him to like OKC and just asking for a ton of draft picks, and OKC could give you a ton of draft picks for him without like it hurting OKC.
Yeah,
And they'd be pretty lethal if you added you add Durant to the current team. Like that would be a pretty lethal squad.
what OKC needs is another really skinny, tall guy who can get bullied by bulkier guys. That's what OKC needs.
You know what? I mean, like they have so many draft picks. I would be crazy if they don't make some kind of move this summer. But like I feel like you might want like a Valanciunas, just some big, just really big center. That could get some rebounds and like make up for your skinny ass rest of your team.
Yeah. As good as Holmgren is, like, I don't know, they're just
It would be interesting to have Holmgren as your 4. Have a real center on the floor, not Hardenstein.
No,
but a real center on the floor because they're not getting Hardenstein from us. But they have so many draft picks that like there are guys that would be available if you just want to make a trade.
dominating.
Ayton.
Yeah.
I guess if you don't like OKC, you'd want them to go get Ayton. That would make sense.
It would be funny.
It would be kind of funny. What's his name? Who's the Adams? Adams is out for the season.
Yeah.
But he would be a really great. What team? He got traded right before he got injured, right?
Did he? I thought he was still in Memphis.
I thought Memphis. Am I crazy to think I thought they had traded him and then he got injured.
Oh,
Maybe he's still in Memphis.
I thought he got injured on Memphis. And anyway,
I mean,
but he would be a good guy.
He would be an excellent addition on that team. But assuming they don't win the title this year.
He's on the Rockets. Never mind.
Yeah, I knew he got traded before he got injured. But yeah. And anyway, Knicks are going to. So I think I picked 5 games. I'm joking about a sweep. Not that joking. What do you think happens, Jay?
I mean, before the series started, I picked 6. I think that's still fair.
You think it's going to go 6?
Probably not. I just don't want to. I don't want to get too cocky. I feel like next game is the series. If they win, they might sweep. If they lose, it might be a long series. But
I'm really nervous about next game because I feel like the refs are going to hand it to Philly, and it'll be 2-1. And at 2-1, your lead's not that great. You're going to the next game, and like 2-2 looks really, really. You almost feel like you're down if you go up 2-0 and then it's 2-2. Like you almost feel like you're down. So you really want to win one of the next 2 games, and like, not that next game it can't be must win when you're up 2-0. If you want to put the series away, you kind of have to win the next game.
Yeah. I'd say just hopefully they just win and completely demoralize Philly. They don't seem mentally tough enough to. If they go down 3-0, they're probably rolling over in Game 4, right? Like other than Maxi's probably gonna put up 50 points while everyone else like is crying in the corner.
Yeah, Maxi's awesome, but like Maxi's an awesome player. As much as Brunson's shots are not going in, I don't think every one of Maxi's shots is going to fall also. So he's like just going back to, and he's a good shooter, but like he's hitting some crazy shots.
Yeah.
Some of them are not going to fall.
Right.
Like everything kind of evens out. So like Brunson plays better, Maxi plays a little bit worse. Maybe the Knicks get a blowout next game. That's probably not going to happen, but it'd be nice.
Yeah.
But I can't still. The problem is Knicks game ended at like 11 o'clock, and I was like, "Oh great, now I'm going to sleep after seeing the most exciting thing I may have ever seen in the NBA."
I know, right? I think there was a lot of Knicks fans that did not get a lot of sleep that night.
I mean, we were supposed to go to game 1. The Jays connection for the tickets fell through. We ended up going to a bar right by the stadium to watch. It was awesome. The whole bar was going crazy. Then we went to MSG after game 1 to like basically the outside, like the party outside, just to like hang out for a bit, just to see like the mood is just amazing outside the Garden after the Knicks win.
Yeah, it's so funny.
And I was like, after game 2, I was like, oh my God, I wish I was at MSG. Like if I lived anywhere close, I think I would have booked it to MSG.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
All right. Well,
Anyway.
we have a Discord if you want to chat during the games. The link is in our Twitter and Facebook pages. We're at NY Knicks Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and Patreon. And you can listen to us on iTunes, Apple Podcasts now,
Also,
Spotify, anywhere else. Yeah.
Autograph.
Oh, we mentioned Autograph. We didn't. We're idiots. We didn't mention our code. Use code NYKP when you sign up for Autograph. Get your $2 autographed Miles McBride jersey. And
you could actually listen to our show on Autograph.
Yeah. Listen to it through Autograph, and you get points. And the more information you absorb, the more points you get, and then the better deals you can get. So you need 250 points to put in for that Miles McBride jersey. I did the 250 points in like less than 30 minutes. So go for it.
Supposedly, if the Knicks sweep the series, Autograph has a special deal. I think for $5, you could buy what's left of Embiid's respect.
You could buy a bucket of Philly fans' tears for 35 cents.
You could buy like you can buy all the Philly fans. You can get a signed copy of the Phillies grievance for every game.
Get a Nick Nurse autographed copy of his grievance for the to the refs.
That would be an awesome thing if they gave that away.
That would be funny.
They're like, well, it's not signed by Nick Nurse, but whatever, it's signed by someone.
Dear NBA refs, you made me sad and also mad. Do not do that again. Sincerely, Nick Nurse.
They should have things they give away just trolling Philly. Like you could buy an Embiid wig where they're like, if you look down at the ground, you look just like him during the post game press conference. Visine for Embiid's eyes. Buy the Visine that Embiid uses during the games.
I don't even want to make fun of that. The whole blinking out of one eye thing is weirding me out.
It's weird, but I how injured could his eye be if he's hitting shots? I really think you cannot. If you close one eye, you would not hit your shots.
If he's not blinking, that's got to be dry as shit.
Yeah, he must have a dry eye issue.
I would think if he can't
Which
shut it.
also is tremendously. I mean, he's not himself. But whatever. Randall's not here, so he's healthier than Randall. So
exactly. All right. So thanks for listening. Thanks for joining in the live room. We will be back next week to talk about the Knicks sweep. Thank you and good night.
Bye, bye, love. Goodbye, everybody. Goodbye. It's all over. Goodbye. It's time to go. This is the end. Say goodbye. You better go away. I'm gonna